Hey everybody, good morning. So this is the 2019 Chevy Silverado High Country with the 6.2 liter V8. Now, right now where I'm at, it's about -7, but -12 with the wind chill. And you know what, it's not too windy now, but we actually did have some snow fall overnight and the wind was whipping through here overnight. And this truck hasn't started now for over 24 hours. So it has certainly sat here and totally chilled out. So we're gonna do a cold start and see how this thing fires up, and especially listen to that 6.2. Because at -12 or -7 technically, I don't expect it to struggle, but one thing about this engine you have to know is that it sounds very good, and I expect that on a cold start it's going to sound even better. So let's hop in and see how it does. Okay everybody, here it comes. 6.2 liter V8 in the Silverado High Country cold start. Now this truck uses a push button start, so no key. Key is in my pocket. I just hopped in. My screens came on, but they're very slow to react because of how cold it is. Yeah, let's see what happens. Foot on the brake, here we go. Okay, so it did definitely rev there for slightly longer than it normally would have. I mean, not really much. And let's listen now. So we're idling, still just below 1,000 RPM. It's barely even at a high RPM idle. And the truck readout is actually reading only -6. So it's being generous. It's saying it's not that cold out here. And this probably goes without saying at this point. Maybe it doesn't, but this is all Celsius. We are not looking at Fahrenheit right now. Ooh, even the transmission fluid is showing at -4. So let's let her idle here for a second. And now I just have to give it a little bit of beans. Hear this thing rev up. Ready? I know, probably not great for a cold started engine, but... Oh, so interesting. So it's limited right around 3,000 RPM. And I was actually idling around 900 RPM, which was the cold start idle. And now it's dropped down to, looks about maybe 600 RPM. So you know what? It's actually already dropped after that little rev up. It came back down to what I'm sure is probably regular idle. So it was running at a high idle around 900 RPM. So guys, another thing worth looking at in the cold is the powered step here on this High Country. Now as you can see, it's not only cold, but it's also caked in all kind of bad road grime and ice. But so far, that has not stopped it from working. Now let's see if I kick the little button here at the rear end, if it'll come back for us. Yep, it's operating exactly like it's supposed to. These things sometimes can get so mucked up with snow and ice that they don't want to work for you. But so far, that has not been the case. So I'm shooting the gauges right now, and you'll notice they're still a little bit slow. But again, this isn't the extreme cold that we've had. Sadly, if I had this Silverado 2 weeks ago, we could have done a -25 cold start. But here in Southern Ontario, we've had this really weird, super cold parts of winter, -25, -30. And then earlier on this week, it got all the way up to like 10 degrees, which is just insane. And now it's back down to a much more livable -6. But for the purpose of this video, I do wish it was a little bit colder. Okay, so we're on the move now. Let's just talk a little bit about this Silverado. So, first of all, the main reason I wanted to do this cold start video wasn't because of the cold. I've already said this, but as a lot of you know, -12, -6, whatever the exact temp is outside, that's not really cold. That's not to the extremes that we can get to. But there's a bigger reason why I shot this video. So General Motors, with its 2019 pickup trucks, they've actually had some issues in the cold. Now, we actually received a bunch of reader emails from people saying, hey, I have a 19 Silverado or Sierra, and the electronics go all buggy when it gets basically anywhere below freezing. So, of course, I wanted to grab a Silverado and see it for myself. Now, the tough thing with these situations is that, not that I don't believe people emailing us, but it's hard to prove that anecdote is data. Basically, one guy who has an issue with this truck, well, that could have just been, you know, one worker at the plant that day who installed something incorrectly. You can't say, oh, every Silverado sucks because that one sucks. But with this specific issue, General Motors has already issued a TSB, a technical service bulletin, which means that GM has acknowledged this problem. They have acknowledged that in the cold, and not even extreme cold, most guys, like I said, were saying that anywhere below freezing. One guy was saying about, you know, 12 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is probably around minus 15-ish Celsius. Everything was just going wonky. There was different messages coming up. The trailer kept trying to unhook and rehook, and all kinds of different electronic stuff was happening. And I have to tell you that I've had none of those issues, but I have had one problem, and I want to test it out now. So I'm on this empty country road. No one's behind me, no one's in front of me. So I'm going to come to a dead stop and put it in reverse. And let's see if my camera system works. Okay, so this truck has a 360-degree around view camera, and it's working perfectly right now. I can see all the different views here on the screen, and I have to say, this is a great camera system. However, you can see in this little clip that I filmed with my phone that yesterday, it was actually a little bit warmer, and my camera system totally cut out. I got a blank blue screen, and a message came up that said, service your rear camera system. Which certainly wasn't something I was expecting on a brand new truck. Now, you know, it's already solved itself. Today the camera is working, so if I owned this truck, I probably wouldn't go to the dealer until it happened again. But still, that's not something you expect to see on a brand new Silverado, no doubt about it. This truck is fitted with winter tires. These are Toyo Observe G3 ice tires, and as you can see, they are fairly low profile, with these massive 22-inch wheels fitted on this high country. But I do have to say that they've been an excellent winter tire on all surfaces. I mean, they say ice right on them, and we have had a lot of ice. I mentioned it thawed out earlier this week and then everything refroze. So underneath the snow is basically solid ice, and these tires have handled it really, really well. So Toyo Observe G3 Ices, in my books, definitely get a thumbs up. Now, I just want to talk about the truck overall, and at TFL, we have been in these new 2019 Silverados and Sierras quite a bit. We've done a lot of testing with them, so I won't rehash for too long, but let me just give you the short strokes. So, first of all, 6.2 liter V8, 10-speed automatic, excellent powertrain. I can't find fault with it. The 10-speed is super quick at shifting, and it knows where it wants to be. This thing doesn't search for gears. It seems to always be in the power band, which is nice. The 6.2 has lots of power, 420 horses. It certainly feels formidable. And the best thing, when you put your foot into it, not only does this thing go, but it sounds really good when it's doing it. The exhaust on this truck is so nicely tuned for this big V8. Where the disappointment lies in these 19 GMs, as I'm sure you've heard and maybe seen for yourself, is right here in the interior. This is a Silverado High Country. This is the best Silverado you can get, you know, the most premium. And it just doesn't look that nice. There's this big black plastic cut out here in the center. It's not piano black. It's just this plain black plastic. Looks cheap. They put in this gold insert here, also plastic. It matches the gold up on the grill, and I actually like the gold up on the grill of this truck. Gives it a nice look. But here on the inside, it just comes off looking cheap and slapped together. There's the tiniest bit of wood down here on my door handle, and I'm quite sure that this is not real wood. And if it is real, it certainly does not feel real. And you know, you've heard this a lot too, but I have to say it, against the Ram 1500, this thing just doesn't hold a candle to that truck when it comes to interior design. And this is definitely the area where it feels like GM kind of phoned it in. Now, maybe I'm being too harsh. Some of the positives are, you know, I like the controls in the back of the steering wheel for volume and then going through your radio presets, although I do prefer FCAs here on the left because you can just seek from channel to channel, but that's besides the point. I like the controls up here on my left. I have my drive mode selector and then my 4x4 selector, so from 4 high, 4 low, or auto. It's a nice spot up here. The seats are plenty comfortable, no issue there. The ride is comfortable. The suspension has been tuned nicely so that this half-ton certainly doesn't feel stiff at any point. The drive is nice. The steering feel is actually a little heavier, I think, than in the old Silverado. They've put some weight behind it, but I always appreciate some nice weighting. Makes the wheel feel good in your hand. Yeah, you know, I have a lot of great things to say about this truck, but at the end of the day, the interior really lets the whole package down. Oh, and speaking of the 4x4 system, in these conditions, with a bit of ice and packed down snow on the road, I've been running an auto, and the good thing is down here on my screen, I am able to see which wheels are getting power. So right now, all 4 wheels are getting power. It's in auto. If I nail the throttle, there was like no wheel spin there at all. All 4 wheels hook up and this thing takes off. And that's also really thanks to these Toyo winter tires. Now, I know I said it earlier, but I'm gonna say it again from behind the wheel. This is a great set of winter tires. These things really bite in the ice. They give you great braking traction. And then, you know, I've been a little playful and coming around some corners trying to get a bit sideways, and I've been really impressed with how controllable this truck is. And I also chalk that up mostly to the tires, you know. So guys, this is hopefully first of a couple cold start videos. Now, you know, we're already into February, so winter is certainly marching on, and my timing just hasn't matched up as to when it's been really cold and when I've had press vehicles, but I'm doing my best to nail at least one -20 cold start this year. So make sure you stay tuned to TFL for that, as I'll be bringing you lots more from our Canadian winter. And as always, let us know what you think of the Silverado in the comments below. And when you go below, hit subscribe and then come back to the channel, as we're always going to bring you the latest news, views, and real world reviews. See ya.